Hello, everyone. Suzanne Taylor King here for the Productive and Prosperous Entrepreneur Coffee Chat. And we are here today with my new friend in my life, Christos Angelodikis. And how did I do pronouncing that? Did I do okay?
Pretty
All
good,
right,
Suzanne.
pretty
Thank you
good.
so
I'm
much.
working on it. I'm working on these Greek names. I'm really excited to talk to Christos today. He is one of the founding experts in the Idea Lab community. And what? You don't know what the Idea Lab community is? You need to come check out what I've created with 12 amazing experts, all providing their knowledge and their insights, great events, great networking. So let me know if you want to come check that out. I'll make sure the link is in the comments. But today, we're going to talk to Christos about what he does for entrepreneurs and CEOs. And you're going to hear some things from him that are so in alignment with me. I knew when I met him that this was going to be somebody that I would work with and be in touch with literally for the rest of my life, whether he likes it or not. Welcome, Christos.
I do, Suzanne. Thank you so much for the introduction, and it's
You're
great to be
welcome.
here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. One of the things we like to focus on, one is coffee in the morning. So it's afternoon for you in
hmm
Greece right now.
hmm
So I'm sure you're done with your coffee for the day. But
Indeed.
let's talk about what makes you feel productive as an entrepreneur.
That's a great question. Coffee helps a lot with that in the
Yeah,
morning,
right?
definitely. But honestly, having a history with anxiety a little bit, I need to be very aware with my coffee consumption, caffeine in general. And I recommend, usually recommend my clients to finish all their caffeine consumption up to like 12 p.m. usually,
Mhm.
because after that, so caffeine has a half-life of 6 hours. So if you drink coffee very late in the evening, you
Mhm.
go to bed and you still have caffeine inside your system. And this can create issues with sleep, of course, and anxiety and all these things. So I usually drink only one coffee in the morning and that's it. And usually it's like 50-50, like 50% decaf, 50% normal caffeine,
Oh,
usually.
okay.
Yeah. And after that, it's just like herbal tea, some green tea, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Um, and so I'm curious, somebody I drink 2 or 3 cups of
hmm
coffee in the morning. I do usually stop by 12 or 1 o'clock. Um, Sometimes even earlier than that. And I notice on the days when I have, some in the afternoon, and it could even be tea with caffeine in it,
hmm
um, I notice I still fall asleep, but I tend to wake up. So my brain is still activated. So that's a really great tip for
hmm
entrepreneurs to feel a little bit more productive. We all like the focus that caffeine gives us, at least most of us. And stopping that by 12 o'clock is really going to help with your sleep. I love that.
No, that is important. And actually, there's a company called Four Sigmatic. I'm not
Mm,
affiliated in any way, but they
mhm.
make mushroom coffee and they
I
put some
love it.
kind of mushrooms inside the coffee and they counteract the effects of caffeine. So you have like stable energy throughout your day because
Mm,
coffee can create crashes too. That's another issue. And another very important thing for entrepreneurs, especially after lunchtime, is to try and eat a lower carb lunch in order
mhm.
to avoid the crash, the infamous like 3 p.m. crash,
Yeah,
where we feel
for sure.
sluggish, we cannot move forward, we feel fatigue, low energy, and it can impact our productivity a lot in our workday.
It definitely can. I just want to say hello to Dawn Garrison. Somebody I went to high school with is watching on Facebook. Hey, Dawn, what's up, girl? How are you? Um, so next, I'd really love to ask you a couple questions about how you help your clients,
Mhm.
and tell us a little bit about your micro community and the people that are going to be joining that part of the Idea Lab.
Of course. So the micro community would be a place where we can actually share many things about mindset, self-care, and productivity, and different ways we can become better business owners, but also while living a good life. For me, this is
Mhm.
the most important thing. Having this balance. between work and life. And it's so easy to forget that, especially when we work from home and things start blending together. We
Mhm.
decide to sit down on the couch and relax and watch Netflix, and we pop out our phone and check our emails, LinkedIn, all these things, and we're back in working mode without even realizing it.
Yeah.
So we never take some time to rest. And what I tell my clients usually is the idea of work, rest, recover, and then work again. So working in intervals, exactly like you do in the gym.
Mm.
So the actual growth of the muscle happens in your recovery state. So you need to work hard, but then you have to relax. If there is no recovery, you cannot move forward. You're going to burn out, either with your muscles or with your brain. It's the same thing.
Mm. Well, I
So
love
this is very important.
I love the tie-in to exercise. I'm a
Hmm.
big believer that exercise fuels creativity and focus and productivity. And before we went live today, I mentioned a couple of Greek terms, and one of the ones was about walking and how movement actually increases your productivity, increases
Mm.
your focus. And I think that's one of the things I like about incorporating what you do into what I do with entrepreneurs, because
Hmm.
that phase of your life, or that part of your life, is so important for your business. And I'm wondering, back in ancient Greek days, Plato's Academy and Aristotle and all of those, you know, famous people back
Hmm.
then that we are learning from today, they all exercised when they were discussing philosophy or concepts or theories. And I'm wondering if you could say a little bit about your thoughts on that.
I love that, Suzanne. First of all, thank you for mentioning ancient Greece. I'm very biased towards that, definitely.
Yes.
But it's something that I do daily. Right now, I'm under the weather. I try to avoid working, of course, for these days. But uh, it's something that actually do daily. It's always in my calendar, at least like 30 minutes to 1 hour of walking. And what I do usually right now is racking. You take like a backpack with some weight on
Hmm.
it. So you turn a walk into like a different workout. It's more
Mm.
intense. And it's beautiful because you go out in nature, you relax, your heart rate drops, you empty your mind. And sometimes we get so caught up with our problems, in business and all these things. And all we need is just to take a step back and relax.
Mm.
And this is what walking does for us. We go outside, we relax, we go outside in nature. We realize that we are not that important. We're just like a human being in a like vast, in a crazy world, in the universe.
Yeah.
And so it's this difference in perspective, because our focus becomes too narrow when we're like inside working in our business in front of the computer, getting crazy. But we take a step back a little bit, we go out, we go for a walk, and then when we come back, we have more ideas, we're refreshed, we're ready to tackle our day. It's also good for our health, cardiovascular
Mm.
system, mental health, so many benefits. And it's also a great way to spend more time outside, which we don't do, unfortunately.
Yeah. And we really used to, as a species. I was reading a book last week called Comfort Crisis,
Hmm.
by Michael Easter, and basically he was challenging, the population that we're too comfortable, in our heated houses with, air conditioning and food at our disposal, that, in the very, very distant past,
Hmm.
we had to plan for those things. So if I wanted water on my desk, I had to make sure I walked to the well or walk to the river to get water. Now
Exactly.
it's like we're comfortable. We don't have to work for those things. I mean, we work in a different way, but I mean, our bodies don't have to work for food and water and warmth and shelter. And he the overview of the book was that that lack of movement and working for those things has caused the obesity and diabetic epidemic that we're facing as a people. And I know that everything you're about is the opposite of that. That you really stand for being the best version of yourself so that your business can be the best version of itself. Um,
Exactly.
or
That's
that you
beautiful.
can be a better leader. Um, I mean, imagine leading a company and you're 50, 100 pounds overweight and you feel tired and sick. And
Mm,
how inspiring could that be, for your employees? So I really applaud what you're doing and what you're putting together. So if you don't follow Christos and you don't know who he is, now you do. Make sure you give him a follow, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn. He's more active on LinkedIn like me.
yeah,
So I
like
love
my
that.
main platform is LinkedIn indeed. Yeah.
Yes. Well, let's close out with a little prosperity chat. I love the
Can
word.
I add something to the
Oh,
point
sure.
that you made
Yeah, yeah.
before? It's very important that you mention that because the comfort crisis is a huge problem. Because when the
Mm,
mind does not have a problem, we're going to create problems. And this happens with mental health usually. And you can also see this with pets and cats and dogs. If you take a cat, like it's not a natural environment to spend like your whole life inside four walls, you know. You take a cat, you put it inside, and if he or she doesn't have any kind of stimulation, he's going to gain weight, he's going to get depressed, he's going to have all these different problems. And it's exactly like that with us. We're animals, okay, we're humans, we have all this like logical brain, but we also have the monkey mind. So it's very important to realize that if we don't have problems or enough problems, we're going to eventually create problems. And we are very comfortable, unfortunately. Everything is so easy these days. And it's also the problem that you see people getting upset with so many different petty things, you know, because we're so like comfortable in our bubble society, you know, and we think that the world used to be like that. It was not like that for like 99% of humanity.
mm-hmm.
And we're lucky to be in places where there's no war, there's no famine, we're good, we live in comfortable places. But if you just look outside what's going on, we're very, very lucky and we should be grateful for where we are right now. And there's another beautiful thing from the Stoics, which is voluntary discomfort. So putting yourself,
Voluntary discomfort.
yeah,
Okay.
that's the best pronunciation. Of course, this was the Greek version. And it's the idea of pushing your limits a little bit and getting outside of your comfort zone in many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
It can be speaking with people when you don't feel comfortable doing public speaking. It can be fasting, like taking time off from food, from eating, cold plunges, going outside, doing like hard things, all these things to help us stay in alignment with who we are and our DNA actually, because we're physical beings. We're our bodies are meant to move, not be stuck all day inside.
Well, I absolutely love that because I know it's true. I know that my biggest gains in physical abilities, whether it was cardiovascular training, I trained myself to run one time just to prove that I could do it, and it was that small amount every day, just to go a little bit farther. And eventually got to the point where I could run a 5K every Friday. I ran a 5K every Friday, and I trained for that, and I built up to it by pushing slightly out of my comfort
Exactly.
zone. And the
Hmm.
first time was literally run for a minute on the treadmill. Run for a minute.
Mm.
You can do anything for a minute. It was uncomfortable. And I had horrible form in the beginning, but it by forcing that uncomfortableness in so many things in my life, whether it's a conversation, whether it's going live on 3 different platforms like we are right now. We're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And I don't edit these videos. We're live. And
I love it.
could I screw up? Absolutely. Could my guests screw up? Absolutely. But that's the magic of doing things that are slightly uncomfortable. You get better and better and better at it. And hopefully, each video I do is a little bit better than the last one and bring some meaning to the people listening. So thank you for those listening right now. Um, and I also love the fact that if you're not willing to push past that comfort zone, you're obviously not going to get in better shape. And you're obviously not going to change anything in your life. Habit change
Exactly.
is one of those things, right?
Mm. Because if we keep doing the same things, nothing will change in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
As Einstein mentioned, it's the definition of insanity,
Right?
doing the same things and expecting different results. Yeah.
Yeah. And I find with the entrepreneurs I work with, they get stuck doing, they're doing the same things. They're doing that to-do list every day or every week, and they're not getting the results that they want, but there's a fear of change. There's a fear of doing something different because it's the unknown. And you
Mm.
really help your clients tackle that mindset piece of that. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that if you feel up to it.
Definitely, yeah. Uh, no, it's beautiful that you mentioned that because it reminded me of a Tim Ferriss quote that said, most people will choose unhappiness over uncertainty.
Mm.
And this is so true. I've seen that in my life, in my clients' lives. And
Mhm.
what I love, is what I do is, and that's why I love coaching so much. It's not the idea of being the expert and you have you're like above somebody else. We're the same, we're equals. I do the same things every day. I push myself every day. I want to be a leader for the people that I work with, not like the boss, telling them what to do. I'm putting my ass on the line every day. Sorry to say that, but
No.
I try to do my best. I always try to practice what I preach. I make mistakes. I'm learning every single day, as all of us do. And we need to be willing to change is uncomfortable for all of us, but we need to start contemplating what will happen in the next 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, if we don't make any change. Would our life look like,
Mm-hmm.
or our business, if we keep doing the same things? Because we tend to think that things will stay the same, but that's never the case. Usually things get better or worse. And
Mm-hmm.
usually if we don't do something about our health, it's getting worse usually. And
Yes.
then you start having all these pillars in your life, like relationships, social life, business, health, and they start crumbling one by one. You lose your relationship, you get upset, you get emotional, then you start making mistakes in your business, you don't take care of yourself, you start losing your health, and then eventually you're losing your business. So it's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
That's why we need to be very aware of all these things.
Well, it's kind of goes back to like the wheel of life, and
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
not if you want to improve, say, your health, or let's just take eating for example. You want to improve your eating, and that's going to require a certain amount of time per day, right? To meal prep, shop, plan, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that time has to come from somewhere. It's not like you're just going to make the 5 hours a week in order to do that. You have to be willing to take that time from another area. And I remember when I fully grasped that concept, that if I want to exercise for an hour a day and go for an hour-long walk with my dog every day, that 2 hours has to come from somewhere. I can't work 8 hours and sleep 10 hours and expect to have 2 hours to go and do that. I have to
Exactly.
craft my schedule. And that'll lead us perfectly into being prosperous. Um, because it truly makes me feel abundant and prosperous in my life. It makes me feel successful when I have a day that is equal parts work, equal parts, things I do for free, like we're doing
Mm-hmm.
right now, things
Mm-hmm.
that I do to generate income for my business, things I do for my family, things I do for myself. And when all of those things flow in the right, not only the right order, but the right amount of time for each of those things, I finish the end of the day like so satisfied and so like just in this different place. Like, wow, I did today right. I did it the
I love it.
way I planned on doing it. And that's what makes me feel successful. Excuse me. So I'm wondering what the word prosperous means for you in your life, in your business.
That's a great question. I would say prosperous would mean something like successful, definitely, but success is different for each person.
Mm-hmm.
But it also has some kind of balance inside, in my mind. So being prosperous in many different ways, in many different areas of your life. Because even if you crush it in your business, if everything else fails, for me, it doesn't look like success, you know.
Yeah.
And again, this is my point of view, of course. But chasing only one thing in life usually doesn't end very well.
Mm.
We need to be aware of our values and make decisions based on that. So every single decision is either going to help us move where we want to go or the other way. And we need to be very deliberate with that.
Yeah. Any questions you recommend asking? Um, you know, whether it's your clients or yourself, is there a question that you ask that kind of helps you remember what's important?
It's very difficult to distill it in one question,
Mm-hmm.
but it's usually the question of are you happy or are you content with where you are right now in your life? And if something feels off, how would your life would look like in the next 6 months, a year, 3 years, if you keep doing all these things?
Mm.
And visualizing the quote unquote negative outcomes, because fear is a good motivator. I don't like being in fear, definitely, but it's a great motivator short term to help us
Mm.
like move forward and do what we have to do for our business and ourselves. Because we are very good short term, but we're not very good long term. We don't understand the long term consequences of what we do
Mm-hmm.
in our lives. That's why it's so easy to eat that cake, you know, or like do something which feels good in the moment, but in the long run is not good. And it's a beautiful quote. I don't know if you heard it from Zerzy Gregorek, I think it's the name. He says that hard choices, easy life, easy choices, hard life.
Mm.
And it's a beautiful quote. And it sums this up very, very like in an amazing way. Because indeed, if we sit down and do the hard choices, our life would become easier down the line. But
Mm-hmm.
if we just succumb like to the easy choices in life, eating the cookies, not exercising, you know, all this, watching Netflix all day, then our life, as the years move forward, it will become harder and harder.
Yeah. Yeah. I really notice that, doing the hard things, well, maybe I should say things that other people think are hard when they look at me. How do I not have sugar? How do I, just
Mm,
say I'm not drinking? I quit alcohol. How do I not eat for 3 hours before I go to bed so that I sleep better? Right.
mm.
And when I say these things to my friends, they're like, "You're crazy. I would never do that. I would never." And I'm like, well, I want to optimize how I'm sleeping. And so there's a list of things that you can do: the dark room, the temperature, the, not eating before bed, not drinking alcohol, being off
Mm.
electronics, having that digital sunset. I do all of those things every day. And I have numerous friends that don't understand how I could do that many hard things just to improve sleep. And I think it's those hard things that they don't feel hard to me because I know the value of 8
Exactly.
hours sleep a night. And you give me 3 nights in a row of that, I'm unstoppable.
I couldn't agree more with that. Yeah. And it ties to what Jocko Willing says. He says that discipline equals freedom.
Mm,
We think that we are free, but without discipline, we're never free. We're the slaves, quote unquote, of our passions.
Yeah.
But if we're disciplined, we have a calendar, we know what we do, then when we have free time, it's indeed free time.
Mhm.
We did what we have to do. We moved our business forward. We did our workouts, we ate well, and now we're free.
I
If
love
we
it.
don't have this discipline, we're just kind of lost, and we don't have a specific direction on where our life goes, actually.
I love that. And it reminds me, I can't remember what Stoic philosopher said this, but it was basically that if you do hard things, discipline things long enough with a goal in mind or a purpose in mind, that those hard things actually become easy and joyful. And I remember thinking, oh, so having no sugar is going to feel joyful? Well, I can actually say after numerous years of very limited sugar, of course, except on my birthday, I have lots of chocolate cake on
We
my
all do. We
birthday.
all do, Suzanne, of
Um,
course.
I will say that the choice is so simple now when given, between sugar and not sugar. Um, I can't even believe that hard choices lined up day after day after day eventually get so much easier, and
Exactly.
they actually become the fuel for your purpose or your business or whatever.
I couldn't agree more with that, because the same happens with my friends, because I was always a geek with nutrition and exercise and
Mhm.
all these things. And they're eating pizza, they're eating burgers, and I'm eating like a salad or something like that. And they tell me, how can you not want to eat the pizza? And I'm like, I genuinely don't want to eat that,
Mhm.
because I'm not used to eating that. It's going to make my stomach upset. Then I'm going to have an energy crash. I'm not going to sleep well. All these
Mhm.
repercussions of doing that.
Yeah.
And the salad tastes good, feels good. I have energy. I feel amazing.
Mhm.
And it's the same with sugar. I don't want to eat something which is high sugar right now. It feels too sweet in my mouth,
Mhm.
and then I just don't feel good. Like I get like stomach aches and all these things. So
Yeah. Well, I think most people feel so bad, whether it's digestively, mentally,
mm,
emotionally, that they don't realize that they feel so bad because it's become so normal
it's the
to,
default state, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Um, so yeah, I love that. I love the fact that, doing hard things, uh, you're leading by example. You're leading your clients and your tribe by example, which I love. And I love having someone like you in my community. Uh, but not only that, I'm really enjoying. Went to one of your workshops yesterday, and I enjoyed having the tables turned a little bit on me, and I want to thank you for that. It's not often that someone challenges me a little bit. I don't think I'm scary, but I guess sometimes people are scared to challenge me. So I I appreciate being challenged to do better and be better, and I want to thank you for that.
Suzanne, it was an honor to challenge you, and I loved it so much. And it also, I admire you a lot, and indeed, you have a lot of authority. It's not
Thank
intimidating; you have
you.
authority. So,
Thank you.
but indeed, it shows a lot about your character and your integrity. That when somebody is willing to become coach too, when you're coachable,
Mhm.
it shows a lot about your integrity.
Wow.
It shows that you walk the talk. You're willing to be uncomfortable too, because you realize that we're all in this together. We're all humans, and we're all going through the same things many times.
Wow. Well, thank you. And I think that's a perfect spot to wrap up and ask you how everyone should get in touch with you or what you have going on right now that you'd like to tell us about.
I love it. Yeah, so many things going on right now. I'm so excited for 2023. Number one is the Idea Lab community, which I'm an expert in. It's such a beautiful constellation of people. This is one of my favorite words, by the way.
Oh, I
Troy,
like that word.
Troy, my mentor, actually taught this word to me. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it's a beautiful constellation of many different people, and it's such an amazing community, an amazing place to be in. So I'm active there if you want to find me. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm trying to focus only on one platform because it's easier for me and for my sanity too. It's very
Yes.
difficult to follow many different platforms.
Yes.
And what I have right now is I'm building two different programs. One is a group program for people who want to actually improve their mindset, self-care, and productivity as solopreneurs and thrive in their life. So building a good business while living a good life too. That's one thing. And the other thing is one that I'm building with my mentor, the one you were yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful safe space for coaches where they can share their struggles, what's going on, and build their confidence, crush their imposter syndrome, and move forward.
Love it.
And because it's so easy to, like, usually we're the ones that are sabotaging ourselves, our limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to have a community and somebody to actually handhold us a little bit. And that's what I love about Troy, my mentor. He's been doing that for almost 15 years now. And he likes using this analogy. When you become a surgeon, you need somebody to teach you. You know, when you become a teacher, an engineer, you have a mentor. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're a coach, you usually go out there on your own, and it's scary. It's very
Yeah.
scary. You can't find clients at the beginning. You don't believe in yourself. You eventually thinking of quitting. All of us have this thought many times.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to create a space where people can actually share what's going on and lift each other up and keep moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation yesterday. So, drop the link in the comments of this
Mm-hmm.
video to your next one.
I will. I
And
will.
let's even mention it to my group of coaches that meets once a month, Coach Conversations. I created that with the same thing in mind to talk about your
Mm.
coaching business and what you're doing. So, yeah, maybe there's some collaboration opportunities or cross pollination opportunities there. So,
I love it. I love it.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on the Productive and Prosperous Entrepreneur Coffee Chat. And I look forward to more things coming from you, my friend. And if you want to get in touch with Christos, please follow him on LinkedIn. And he's going to drop some links in the comments of this video so you can register for his next event. And of course, you can come find him in the Idea Lab community. And thank you so much, my friend, for joining me.
Suzanne, thank you so much for having me. It was a
You're welcome.
pleasure. Wish you a beautiful day. Take care.
You too.